Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 3BeerPod. It is episode number 10. I'm Chris. There's Tim. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, buddy. What's going on today?
Not too
beauty
much.
Out there today, isn't it?
She's lovely. She's lovely. A couple warm days here in our neck of the woods, so pretty cool stuff. Episode number 10 of the 3BeerPod. Thanks for tuning in, either watching live on Facebook here tonight or our YouTube channel. Or our Instagram TV, or where else are we putting this? Oh, wherever you get your podcasts, right?
All podcasts, yeah. Check it out.
A couple of cool ways to get it. So wherever you get your favorite podcast, that's where you're going to find us. We're right there tonight. So our guest here tonight is going to be Dave Depencier, who is a local builder, but is also somebody you probably recognize from TV. We're going to talk to him here in a couple minutes. Wanted to, first of all, look at a quick recap. How about Ron McLean last week? That was a lot of fun.
Oh, man, that was fun. The stories that he has, and man, would you like to have a beer with him sometime or what?
I don't know if we
hook that up.
I don't know if it would be one beer though. Ron seems like the guy that has multiple beers and is just full of stories and it's a good time.
Yeah, that'd be a solid afternoon. An afternoon sesh at the local brewery with Ron McLean would be awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool. So I do appreciate that. We appreciate that, obviously, with Ronnie last week. And you can watch and see that on all our channels. You can find it right there. Timmer, we always start with what you drinking, bud, on the old 3BeerPod. What are you drinking tonight, Timmer?
Oh, buddy, this one's coming from our sponsor, Sons of Kent. It is the Bunny Chow. Just came out on the weekend. Check out the color of this bad boy. Look at that. That's impressive. Let me hold that. Oh, yeah. That's delicious.
It's looking good, bud.
So I had one on the weekend, and it was scrumptious. Again, pretty good stuff. So a lot going on in this, and I wish I could just say it all off the top of my head. But there is blackcurrant in here for sure. That's going to help get that color. There is some vanilla. There is some rooibos tea and some lactose. So this is a milkshake IPA. That's where you're getting that thickness from, and it has this delicious South African hops, which I don't think I've ever had South African hops, but apparently that's what's in here, and it makes it delicious.
It is very good. That's my first Bunny Chow. I love it. It's good stuff.
Oh, that's good. that is fantastic. So again, thanks to our sponsor, Sons of Kent, for pumping out great beers as per usual. The other ones that I'm going to drink tonight, this one here is a collaboration between Muddy York, which I had some Muddy York last week, and some Left Field. It's called Barley Pop. Check out that label.
I've heard good things about that. And
it's a cola alt beer. So it has this like cola flavor to it, which if anyone knows me, I enjoy a good soda. And so that's an exciting beer. And then the last one, and I haven't had this one yet, but this is perfect right now for the weather. It's just called Ice Cold Beer.
Nice.
It's Ontario Ale from Left Field, and probably going to drink that next just to cool down a bit. What are you drinking tonight, Cloudy?
Well, I do have the Bunny Chow, as I showed you there. I got the Bunny Chow. Loving that. That's good stuff from our friends over at Sons of Kent. I think I've had this before. I can't remember though. It's the banana bread beer from Eagle Brewing. You had that yet?
No, I've had a banana bread beer before. It's delicious.
My son picked that out, so I've got to try that one. And if I get to it, because you know how I work around here in the 3BeerPod, I usually get to two. I just got a Frank's Brewing.
Nice.
Down in Windsor, a Bombshell from Bombshell Blonde from Frank's. You did mention it there, Timmer. Thanks to our sponsors again, of course, Sons of Kent. There you can see our sponsors over at Sons of Kent. They're going to have some exciting things with some of the announcements that were made in Ontario here yesterday. Be paying attention to their social media, and of course here in the pod we'll let you know what's going on over there, but some exciting things. And also myself at Realty Connects and the Health House, your sponsors for the 3BeerPod. Dave Depencier is standing by. Do you want to do some beer buzz first though, Tim? You want to do that real quick?
Yeah.
All right. Did you see that story here? Let me pull you back in here. The other story that was making the rounds about this girl who went viral with a video where she was feeding her boyfriend beers. She did a whole TikTok on this, but it was near beer. It was a non-alcoholic beer.
Oh, come on.
And it went viral.
I did not see this one.
So I think it's Australia. Yeah, it's an Australian story. So she fed him 10 beers before he finally called her bluff and said, "What the
That's
hell, dude?
amazing.
I am so bloated. I'm bloated here. What am I drinking?" And finally pulled it on her. But it went viral over the weekend on the TikTok.
That's amazing.
That was pretty funny. And this story here, now it's not beer related, but I thought it fit. Okay, so there's a guy in Belgium that has been receiving pizzas that he didn't order for almost a decade. Jean van Landingham says the pizza pies are delivered to his doorstep day and night. He has no idea why. He once received 10 deliveries in the same day, including a delivery that contained 14 different pizzas. Now, I guess he's not paying for it. Somebody's already paid for it. They show up at his house, and quite often there's wings or something on the side,
Come on.
like a garlic bread or something.
So he's not getting he's not getting footed the bill.
No, it just shows up.
Pizza showing up.
Yeah, it just shows up at his house.
Sounds fantastic.
It does, but now I guess it's gotten to be a little too much for the guy. He's had this happen for 10 years, and some of his friends are now getting pizza deliveries, and nobody is claiming it. Like 14 pizzas isn't cheap, and this is happening daily. He says now, "I cannot sleep anymore. I start shaking every time I hear a scooter coming down the street. I dread that someone's coming to drop off more pizzas."
I love the fear of the pizza delivery scooter.
I love it.
That's something that I've never been afraid of.
I love it. I love it. So yeah, he stays awake at night whenever he hears a car or a scooter coming down the street, thinking it's more pizza coming. So.
Please don't deliver me free pizza.
Way too much. Way too much. That's all I had in Beer Buzz tonight. I guess the big news is that patios are opening. We're going to see some breweries are going to be able to open up some patios. We're going to see some restaurants doing that. So that was a big phase 2 in parts of Ontario. We're going to start to open up as of Friday night. I guess Friday morning, technically.
I think, I'm not going to rush out on Friday morning. Still a working day. I'm going to let some people try it first. We're going to let them get the kinks worked out, and then I'll probably venture out to a nice open patio for a beer. But not this weekend. I'll let those kinks get worked out first.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Hey, let's get to our guests. I'm excited to talk to this guy. I don't know if you can see here. Let me focus there. I've changed my angle tonight because I wanted to show off my Reno. This is what I'm living in, and I'm like on a corner, and I've got half of my life sitting in a box beside me. Let's pull in our guest tonight. It is Dave Depencier. Good evening, Dave. How you doing, buddy?
How you guys doing tonight?
Very good. Very good. Dave, we're happy to have you here, of course, Depencier Builders, but many of our viewers and listeners may recognize you from your show that was on the Cottage Life Network, Reno, from a couple of years back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually hit Netflix there for quite a while as well, all across most of the world, I believe, from what I've been told. So it was definitely an interesting ride for sure.
Well, we got a lot of things to talk about. Obviously, I'm going to ask you some free advice with my Reno going on back here. So I'm going to ask you about that. But I want to go back to where did you start? How did you get into being a home builder? Where did that all come from?
Well, interesting enough, I started out in I think it was about grade 8. My mom going in the summer between grade 8 and grade 9, and my mom says to me, you got to get a job, right? So I said, okay, well that's good. So my uncle was a renovator, and so he had a kind of a small construction company, and he did like a lot of different types of renos, roofs, siding, decks, all that kind of stuff. And so I was fortunate enough to kind of catch on with him that summer, and started doing all the crappy stuff that all the starter guys do, right? Yep. Cleaning up the sites and carrying shingles and going to fetch coffee and whatever. And that's just kind of how it started. And by the time, I kind of worked my way up pretty well through most of high school. And by the end of high school, I was like actually running one of his crews. Wow. And I started to really catch on and like it. And I can remember the guidance counselor pulled me down to the school. And back then, I think we went to grade 13. So pulled me down and said, it's time to, apply to college or university. What do you want to take? And I was like, I don't know. And I was going through the brochure. I think she gave me a fan shop brochure. And I thought, construction engineering. So I'm like, that's what I'm going to take. So that's kind of how it went. And then, as I got going through high school, and then I knew that it was kind of my calling. It was something I wanted to do. But I really wanted to build new homes. That was kind of my thing that I really wanted to do, and to frame, and to just that whole experience from start to finish. So by the time I got through, got my degree, I caught on with a framing crew, and we framed a ton of houses, like a lot, and just kind of honed my craft. That was probably the best experience, was being hands-on and actually constructing the home from the foundation up. But the good part about it is I got to learn from a lot of builders that we framed for around the area, like Chatham-Kent area, and we were in Windsor a lot too at the time, and Kingsville. So it gave me an opportunity to kind of watch them, how they dealt with clients and how they handled trades, and along with really honing my craft as a framer. And then I think I was like 22 or 23, and I just said I got to start. So I fired up, and the rest is history. Here we are.
That's what I did about 4 months ago. I said, I just got to start. Why not? Let's give it a shot.
Well, you picked your craft, right? It's drinking beer. So it sounds like you guys kind of really found your calling, and you're going for it.
That's one thing. We should never Reno and drink a beer at the same time. There's got to be, you got to separate the two. You do the same thing.
Probably wise if you like all your fingers. And,
they're all here.
I don't know if I've told you. I know I've talked to you before, Dave, but my grandparents built houses. They were contractors when I was growing up, and I just couldn't get past the part of moving 2x4s around the site and being the coffee guy. And I loved framing. I loved it. I loved doing that kind of stuff. But my job was always the picking up and moving, and I was just sweating. And I would say, you know what? I want a job where it's air conditioned. And now, years later, I'm like, man, I should have really followed that, because I loved doing that. I just couldn't get past that cleanup guy around the site. But
yeah,
a little bit of jealousy.
You know what? I got to thank my uncle, and I have many, many times, because he was a fantastic worker, and he really, really gave me that hard work mentality, and really kind of taught me how to, become a hard worker. And that's really the key to any successful business. You got to be willing to put the work in and the time in, and that's how you learn. You might be cleaning up, but you can pick up a lot by watching trades and watching, carpenters and bricklayers, whoever it might be. That's how you learn. You take that opportunity and go for it. I think it's the best way to learn. In fact, my son and his buddy, I just hired him this summer to start cleaning sites. So that's where it starts. So I'm excited for them two guys to see where it might take them.
It's fun to start there, and you're framing and you're doing it. But as soon as you do it as your own company and you take on your own job, you gotta be shitting bricks, man. Like I think I know what I'm doing, and then I start tearing walls apart, and I'm like, okay, I'm too far. But when you get that first job and you get that first contract to build someone's house, are you a little nervous when that happens?
I think I was pretty young, and I don't want to say stupid, but I just really didn't care. Right. Like, I'll tell you, the third house I built was a log home.
No way.
That might have been dumb, because I never built a log home in my life. But, I got the opportunity. They're like, can you build log homes? I'm like, oh, yeah, I can build a log house.
Sure.
And so I just kind of went, and I got in with, it was Luxurious Homes in Bothwell at the time. Yeah. And, so I'm pricing this thing out, and I just went there, and I'm like, hey, I'm a builder. I build, I can frame, but I said, I gotta build this log home for these people, because I was buying the kit from him. And so I just started asking, how do these go up? Like, in my head, I kind of knew it went up a different way. And ironically, at the time, he's like, well, why don't you start putting these up for me? Because I don't want to build them anymore. I just want to sell the kits. So by the time I got to actually constructing that home, like from top to, I contracted the whole home. By the time I got to that job, I guess you could say I was a log home professional, because I had already built, 2 or 3 for this guy before that.
Yeah.
So it really gave me an opportunity to figure it out. But you're right. It's a little bit intimidating, but the best part, I think, and I always say this for a lot of the things I did, was I was really young, and I really didn't have no fear, because, it's different when you're married and you have kids and you've got a mortgage and you've got, bills and things like that, and you're to start a business at maybe 45 or 50 or 40. You got to think a little bit differently than you do when you're 22 or 24, right? Like, you don't care as much. So it was a good time to kind of go at a lot of things, because I had a little bit of no fear, which thankfully worked out for me.
I can imagine.
I think that I think Chris has been waiting to get his own TV show with this. I think he's watched too many of the shows on Cottage Life and HGTV that he's hoping somebody comes knocking on his door to come fix his problems.
I want a crew of 25 to show up and just
boom, and it's done.
finish it in 24 hours. Yeah.
And it didn't happen. Can you talk to us a little bit about the experiences that you had on your show? How did you get into that, and how did that kind of come to be for you, Dave?
Well, if I remember back, I think at the time, I think I was president of the Home Builders Association or vice president. It was right around that time. I can't recall exactly, but Claire Curtis, who was our executive officer at the time, he just kind of sent me an email and said, "Hey, this come through about a casting call for a production company looking for carpenter to be, in this show." And so I just kind of thought, well, sure, I'll send it off. So I sent it off, and they asked for a bunch of stuff, and then I never really heard anything for I bet you it was close to a year.
Wow.
TV world is really crazy. Like things happen like this, and then sometimes you sit and you wait. But when they want to roll, it's like, okay, we need you here tomorrow type deal.
Wow.
And that's really kind of how it went. I mean, and I remember they called me it was at least a year. And they're like, "Hey, you still want to do the show?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I didn't know if you were even doing it anymore." So they're like, "Call me." They needed a couple other little video clips or something. I forget what exactly they were looking for, but some couple little things for the production team that was selecting, and the network actually. And so I'm like, okay, I sent it in, and they're like, "Well, how long will it take?" I'm like, "How long will it take to hear from you?" "Oh, we'll know in we'll know in a couple weeks." I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard this before." And then actually it was probably a couple months went by again.
Wow.
And all of a sudden I remember my wife and my son was playing lacrosse in Whitby, and we were in provincials. And I remember my phone was on silent. It was a Friday afternoon, and I happened to be we're driving down the highway somewhere. We landed, and I looked at my phone, and it went off 10 times. This person tried calling me 10 times. So I said and I knew the number. And I said to my wife, I said, "Uh-oh, I think something's cooking here." But then they called me, the producer called me. He's like, "Hey, I need you on a plane tomorrow to come to Ottawa." I'm like, "Well, tomorrow's not happening because I'm, my son's in the provincial. So
Yeah.
how about Monday?" He's like, "Well, Monday's the latest because we got to have this all in for the production team
Wow.
Tuesday morning or something like that." So it was literally a 10-minute conversation. And they're like, "We'll send you your tickets. We'll send you the details. And you'll, 8:00 in the morning, Monday morning." I think I flew out Sunday night for Monday morning, I think that was it.
Yeah.
And they're like, 8:00, there'll be a blue van picks you up, and then we'll take you from there. I literally was like, okay. So,
Wow.
and then they just whizzed me off to Quebec. Actually, we went to because it's so close to the Quebec, and they took me to some cottage out in the middle of Quebec on a lake somewhere. And there was, I think, four or five different guys that had showed up, and nobody we just showed up, and they basically had all these tools. They had a kind of a mock site. I think there was a bunkie being built at the time, and they had these two actors kind of show up to be clients. And they said, "Okay, each one of you guys are going to go in this bunkie. We'll give you 5 minutes to go look around, see what it all looks like, whatever, and then we're going to film you. You do what you got to do." So it's just they threw me into the fire, and it worked out for me. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So
That's wild.
then I flew back, and when I left, the producer goes, "Yeah, we'll know in a couple weeks." And I'm like, "Oh, here we go now." A couple weeks. But he actually called me 2 days later, and he's like, "You got the lead. You're the guy. They want you. The network wants you." So yeah, it was really quick, a long time, but it happened really, really fast.
So for those that didn't catch on, it was on the Cottage Life Network. It was called Reno My Reno. It was on. So I watched it there, and then I watched it on Netflix again just because I thought it was so cool. And I obviously had to figure out what to do here, so I was keeping a close eye on it. But what's the so somebody would submit, "I have a cottage and I need some help. I need a renovation done." And now behind the scenes, do you show up? And is a lot of it already done? Do they make the place look worse than it actually is? How much of that is really staged, and how much of that is real?
Well, I can tell you, some of those shows are really staged. Some of them are some of the guys that are in those shows are like they're not even carpenters, they're actors.
Mhm.
My show itself was I had full control of the show, which is actually for me really good because they wanted me to kind of run the show and run the whole concept of everything. So they would send me like video footage of the place. They'd send me a write up of the clients, who they were. They'd give me some measurements. So they had like a team that would go to the site because they were all like all over like Ottawa,
Yeah.
Peterborough, Kingston, all those places. So I would never go. They would just send me all these video files of everything. And then I would basically come up with what I wanted to do and what we needed. And I would put the plan together. So thankfully, I mean, I ran a business and that's kind of what I did. So that part was really easy. And then we'd show up and it was honestly, it was because we had so many we'd have to do at a time. It was not staged at all. It was like
Really?
legit. Yeah.
So was that like a weekend or was it a week or what was the timeline on those renos?
We would be 3 days. So, and that would
Wow.
include
For real?
rolling in, setting up, kind of, getting our head wrapped around the space. And then they'd have to do all their preliminary. The toughest part of it all was the actual TV part. Like being on TV for me that wasn't hard. It was trying to do the work in the time frame we had and making it work for TV because they had to have their shots, right? So the first couple episodes I found a bit difficult because I just wasn't used to what they were looking for, the angles, how they had to do things, and then obviously you have to have the story all come together. And so there was like a template of how we were going to do things. So the first couple, once I got used to how things had to go, then I would basically plan our day around what they needed for footage. And then, we would work, like the crew was all unionized and stuff. So they would be done at like 5:00. And then we could actually work, but we couldn't go too far because we'd have to set it up. We'd have to set it up for the next day. So I'll be honest, I started bullshitting the director a few times. We'd be like, I have to get this done. And then he'd be like, oh, no, I need this. Like, this can't be here. I go, that's impossible. You can't take it apart. He had no idea.
Yeah.
So I had to start to outsmart them a little bit, but it all came together pretty good.
I could see you're doing something simple that you do every day in the job. Like you're like, of course we'll put the stud right here. This is what we do. And the guy's like, hold up. I want to get the shot.
100%.
Yeah.
And then let's see you put that screw in, and then it's like, oh, can I get a different angle? Like sometimes it'd be like 5 minutes to fasten one board, right? And then check a different angle, and then and then part of my job as the host was I would have to take whether it's the husband or the wife, whoever it might be, whoever screwed the job up, we would keep them and kind of try to teach them how to do things.
Right.
So part of my job as the host was to, put them through a little bit of give them a couple jobs to do. So I'd have to kind of come up with something that I thought they would be capable of doing. And then, show them how to do it and, poke fun out of them a little bit too. Cause that's always, right? So you better hope you don't get on there. Cause I'm going to, you won't stand a chance.
Yeah, he's done for sure. Today I was working on my daughter's play set and building a little deck around it. And every time I kept looking up, my wife and my daughter were both staring at me. And I was like, don't stare at me. Stop watching what I'm doing. Because I'm probably going to swear at some point in time here. Just back off. I was like, no, we can't do it. Of all these renos that you worked on, what was some big mistakes that you see people doing? I know a lot of people tuning in right now try and do the Weekend Warrior projects. And what are some things that maybe we should stay away from? Really, I think this might just be an intervention for McLeod. What's going on behind? Any tips on things that you should really just call on the professionals to do from your experience from your show?
Well, anything for sure with any like electrical and mechanicals and heating and gas, like anything like that, you should not even consider touching. And big things like tearing out a wall, right? Most people, for me, I automatically know, hey, this is what we look for. This is safe. This is not safe. And if we have to take out a bearing structure, this is how we do it. And it's like, okay, let's just go do it. but I see a lot of people like ripping things out that they shouldn't rip out, and that's very, 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 very not very, very smart to do.
What's the worst situation you've walked in on, maybe on the show or in real life with the Depencier Builders, where you walk in and you're like, "Oh, what did you do here?" Like, what's the worst thing you've seen?
I can't remember the guy's name on the show, but he had actually bought this place, and Gary, I think his name was, and he actually found money in the house. Like they were considering maybe building something new or renovating the home, and they decided, you know what, let's renovate this. Let's just tear it apart a little bit and see. Well, they end up finding like thousands of dollars buried in this house. So they're like, well, let's just reno this place. We're at it. That guy should not have touched anything. Like, I have never seen more. I don't know if you ever find that episode, like some of the walls and stuff that he framed were like, I have never seen anything. I can't even believe anyone would even piece that together and call it a wall. Like,
So
just
funny.
Unbelievable. And so that's just one section of what he had done. And we got thrown into that mess, and that is up there for me as probably one of the worst.
Scott McGilvery's got a show on HGT starting the last month. I wonder if you've seen it. It's him going to renovate cottages. Do you hate this idea? Are you ticked off, or do you even know about this show?
Oh no, I've seen it. I haven't really watched much of it, to be honest with you. I've been just a little bit too busy with work and stuff, but I have seen it. I'm curious to see what it's like, or what the show's like. Have you watched it? Is it a good show or what?
It's good. I'm addicted to all those shows, but I thought it's very similar. It's a little different because it's got the aspect of making an income property and turning it into there.
Yeah.
He's got that background, but I thought it's very interesting because it's very similar to what you did. Go in, renovate a cottage, raise the value on it, and also give an opportunity that maybe you could rent it out. But I thought it was very similar to what the idea you guys had.
Yeah. Well, there's, if you really look at a lot of those shows, they're all very, very similar.
Yeah.
Like I have some ideas in my head of what I think would make great shows, and but we'll see what all happens. But they all are very similar in their own way. If you really start to watch them, I honestly, I never watched a lot of them. I'd watch a little bit of them here and there. Until once I did the show, then I started to kind of watch a little bit because I wanted to kind of see what everyone else does. And some of them are they just become like the same routine over and over again, I find. But there are some really good ones, though.
How ticked would you be if Scott McGilvery went to do a cottage and it was one that you did already?
Well, I guess if he did that, then I'd have to say that the part that he made fun of was the part that I gave the owner as a project. I hope.
Yeah, that would have to be part of that deal. When you do those shows, you get on the like the home show tour, where you're at the Ottawa home show or the Montreal home show, and they start to send you these things to make an appearance. Yeah. What was that like? What was that bandwagon like, hopping around to some of those things?
That was really cool, actually, because you got to see a lot of people, and you know what, I don't I just think I'm just an everyday average guy, right? So I don't really think about I'm on TV. But it was kind of weird to have people come up to you and say, oh, that's Dave from Reno My Reno or whatever. So that was kind of neat. I wasn't really used to that, but I love doing the talks. I've done quite a few of them all around different parts of Ontario and stuff. So that was good. And then I did some stuff with Home Harbor as well, because they were one of the sponsors of the show. We did some stuff with them, which was neat. And then I got tied in with House and Home magazine as well, and did some stuff with them. I did like a kitchen and bath series, and I think it was like 8 or 9 episodes long or something like that. So yeah, it's just great. Like I like to meet all these people and contacts. You never know where things are going to take you. So
yeah, that's awesome.
It's really neat.
Is there Reno groupies out there that hit these things? Like, are these those fans that are just like, oh my God, this is Dave Depencier, and are they right there on top of you?
There was some weird people. Yeah, I'm honestly, there's some. You think, okay, you've got to be respectful to everyone, right?
Yeah.
But there's definitely some weirdos out there for sure.
Yeah. What are you working on now? I know you've got a project out in Dresden. Is that how far are you along on that right now?
That's actually going really super well.
Yeah.
So my wife and I and another couple started another company as well, like just to build spec homes mainly, because that market, there's a market for that. It's not really what Depencier Builders does. We're more mainly geared towards custom homes and larger scale renovations. So I really didn't want to mix the two, but I knew there was like a good market for that. So we kind of took on that phase of the subdivision. I'm doing some custom homes in Dresden, and added a phase of just spec building, and it is taking off. That business is actually growing quite nicely, and I'm excited. Like people are moving into this little town of Dresden, like from all over Ontario. It's amazing to see. It's good for the town. It's good for the community all around, and we're just going to keep going with it. I'm excited, and Depencier Builders is actually we're building some really amazing homes in the area. We just finished one up in Erio on the lake. Started one on the big river in Sombra, and I'm really fortunate. I get the opportunity to work with some amazing people. We have some of the best trades in Chatham, Kent. I can tell you that right now. So my staff's amazing. I can't thank them enough. I wouldn't be where I'm at without them. And I got great clients. Like I love building these homes for these people, and when we're done, we're lifelong friends. And to see all these homes around Chatham, Kent, and Lambton County, and all those areas, it's just awesome to see. I love what I do, and I'm gonna just keep going with it. So it's going well.
Tim or Jeff, something there, buddy?
No, I was just going back to my own projects in my head, and I was hoping. Is there like a DIY project that you think people could tackle? Like what's the basic one that people, could bang out in a weekend or two that they might say, hey, should I do this or shouldn't I do this? I'm just thinking of all the things that I got going on and wish I could do more. And my wife never shuts my ideas down. So I'm just, is there a basic DIY project that you think anyone could do with a little bit of talent? Very little bit of talent that we could bang out in a couple weekends.
Yeah. So one that I think Chris, you being in real estate, I think one that really raises the value of a home is like putting in some fresh flooring and some paint. Like there's a lot of easy install flooring. You can buy a lot of vinyl flooring now that clicks together very easily. You don't have to have like super high end tools to cut them. Even a lot of the laminates go together quite easily now. I mean, it's not, with a little bit of patience and a little bit of just learning the basics and taking your time with it. Like you can do a great job with that, and like painting and basic trim work. I don't want to say start hanging doors and stuff, although there are door kits that you can buy that are a lot more user friendly. But you can work your way up to those things. But those couple things there are that'll really raise the value of a home. And there's certainly things that you can do with just a little bit of know-how and some patience, and you got to have the right tools. You don't always need the best tools or the most expensive tools to do some of these jobs, but and I'll use paint as an example. Don't mess around with garbage paint. Get a good quality paint, get a good quality brush and rollers, and you're laughing. Like a lot of people buy the cheapest paint, the cheapest rollers, cheapest brush. Like it doesn't matter how good of a painter you are, it's not going to look good. So those are a couple that I would recommend that you can really look like a rock star.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely. When we moved into our house 7-8 years ago, those were a couple of things that I tackled. Actually, was the flooring, and it's nice to complete a project and go, hey, I did that.
Oh, it's a game changer for a room or a space. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you build a little bit of confidence, and then you start knocking out walls like Cloudy does. And then
the funny thing for me sitting here right now, and I can see both of you on the screen, Tim, your space is finished. Chris, yours is half finished. Like you got studs showing, drywall.
Got a toaster in the background.
So, I can see who's got the patience here by looking at the screen.
Well, if the COVID didn't happen, I think I would have been over there helping Cloudy finish some stuff. But it's held me back from getting over there to help him for sure.
Yeah, I don't recommend a Reno during a pandemic. That might have been a good show for the Cottage Network. Dave, are we going to see you back on TV again? You said you got a lot of ideas. Is there something coming, or are you?
Yeah. So I've got a couple irons in the fire, I for sure, and I don't want to say a whole lot, but because I don't want to jinx myself. But yeah, I'm always dabbling in that world for sure.
Yep.
I was kind of hoping that we'd roll again. Like I kind of knew that it would maybe only be like I think they had me down for 14 episodes, I think it was, and actually it was kind of bad timing for me to get into TV because TV really changed at that point in time, where Netflix and even YouTube and all these things like really took off. So the whole TV world was like they were in like a trance. Like it was just, everyone was hanging on tight and they were not green lighting a lot of shows that they had hoped to green light. But luckily I got on Netflix, which was like a huge thing for me and opened up a lot of different doors and contacts, and things are kind of coming around now. So, I mean, yeah, who knows? Anything's possible.
That's well, we'll look forward to. You'll have to come back and tell us about it if something comes together. We do appreciate you finding some time. I know you're busy. Thanks for jumping on tonight.
Hey, no problem. It's a blast. Anytime.
Thanks, Dave. Oh, you know what? Before we go, we always wrap up our conversations with who would you rather have a beer with? Okay, so we give you 3 options of who you would rather have a beer with. Okay, and we give you 3 options. So number 1 is Mike Holmes. Number 2 is Brian Baumler. Number 3 is Bob Vila. You can't have a drink with all 3. You can't sit down at the same table. You got to pick one of them. Doesn't mean you hate the other 2, but who would you most like to have a drink with?
I think I'd probably say Brian Baumler out of those 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Timmer, who would you go with?
If Brian Baumler would fly me down to his new resort and we can enjoy some beers on the water, that would be the one. No, I think that'd be him. I think we're most suited to be. I'm intimidated by Mike Holmes, and
well, I don't agree with a lot of Mike Holmes stuff. So
I
think we'd probably get into an argument. And,
wow. Let's do that.
No, I don't want to say that. He does a lot of good things, but
that show.
I think Brian Baumler, I mean, he's done amazing at what he's done. He just seems more like he'd be more my kind of style, my kind of guy to hang out with. So yeah, I think I'd probably for sure have a beer with him.
I feel like Holmes would yell at me for drinking my beer wrong. I wouldn't be doing it right. I wouldn't be doing something, but Dave, we appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. We do appreciate you jumping on here tonight. And last week, I apologize because you were bumped for Ron McLean, and I don't mean to do that, but you were very gracious to jump back on here this week.
It was all good. No problem. Anytime.
Thanks, Dave. Have a good one.
Okay, thanks, guys. Good luck.
Depencier Builders, local builder in Chatham, Kent, and of course from Reno. Good to have him on here tonight. Timmer, before we rehash, I jumped into that banana bread beer.
And?
Very, very good. Very good.
Delicious dessert beer, right? I was just thinking about you doing a Reno during a pandemic and how amazing of a show that would have been. It's just like everyone's wearing hazmat suits coming in and stuff like that.
I've done everything I've done. I've turned around and said, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull this stud out, probably fall off the ladder. Let's watch. I rip it out.
I was hoping he was going to look over his shoulder and be like, hey, man, what you doing back there? Like, stop. That's not good.
It's okay. So he mentioned not to touch electrical. Our buddy, Steve Goldsmith, who is probably watching this here right now, is kicking ass, getting some stuff done. He knocked out a bunch today. Do appreciate that. He's kicking butt. So we got some good people locally that's doing stuff. I got to tell you about my weekend. I've told you a little bit. So I fell off the ladder and knocked the gas main or the water main out. So we had a bit of a water feature in the kitchen. So that was about 6 feet of water shooting into the air. Got that taken care of. The next day, I knocked the gas out. So
come on.
Yeah, it was
the gas was actually leaking out.
Well, this is the thing. I was smart enough to turn the gas off to the house prior to, because I thought, So I know how to do some things. I know how to do some things.
I was really just asking questions about your renovation. Is what I was like. What should you not be doing? And like everything over Chris's left shoulder should not be being done by him. That's
I like everybody's noticed my toaster.
yeah.
I don't like to brag, but I've been pretty successful in my life, and I've got a 4-slicer, Tim.
That's
so.
a solid 4-slicer.
Yeah, life
You
is
can't
good.
beat a good toaster. Really, you can't.
I'm
I've
not
had
gonna
mine
lie.
since we've been married. It's almost 15 years old. It's probably going to crap out tomorrow on my Eggos now. But if you buy yourself good tips from Tim Regan here, if you buy yourself a good toaster, it will last you a lifetime.
I'm not gonna lie, Tim. I just put that in the shot just so you get a chance to see
You
it.
don't even like toast.
No, it's it's not even plugged in. The plug doesn't work. I knocked it out.
Goldie has, yeah, I knocked it out when I fell off the ladder and knocked out the.
One of my favorite stories. So my grandparents built houses, and we had a big job once. And when that happened, they'd hire more people on. So we hired this guy, and I hope this knucklehead is listening right now. I have no idea who he is, but he showed up the first day with a tape measure. So my old boss says, "Yeah, go get yourself a tape measure, you idiot! You show up without a tape measure." So they send the guy to get a tape measure. He comes back, and we're putting up roof trusses. And roof trusses are 16 inches on center. I think they were 2 feet. We're doing them on 2 feet on center. So I'm doing my end, 2 feet, nail it in, 2 feet, nail it in. And I'm looking up at his top end, and they're not right. They're way out. So it took us a full day to realize that he was using a metric tape measure.
Come on.
And not an imperial.
That's
so
amazing.
His were 2 meters. His were socially distant from one another. So
that's solid.
My old
That's a solid roof.
I don't even know what his name was. His name might have been to Ronald. Ronald, get down here! And he fired him on the spot. Took his tape measure, chucked it on the road. Don't get back! So yeah.
Go get yourself a new tape measure.
Yeah, I got so many stories. I loved construction. I just wasn't built for the heat. Like literally, that's the only thing that kept me from it. But
I was working in the shade this afternoon, and then I was like, oh yeah. And the beers and the renovations, I don't do it. I will only drink beer afterwards. I did enjoy a solid ice cold Barry White after working on the deck this afternoon. Put in a solid shift of work and then start banging out this deck. It's got its flaws, but it's for my daughter's playground.
Yeah.
I was like, come on,
just your daughter.
We use some lumber and stuff like that. It's good. It's the old good enough deck.
It's called recycling, Tim.
It was. I felt good about it, and then I tried to piece some more stuff together. And then this morning, I was like, "No, I gotta go buy some fresh lumber. Really got to get some stuff there." I was at the hardware store at 7 a.m. this morning, first in line, get some fresh wood.
You and your metric tape measure. Life was good, eh? Life was good.
Sometimes it feels like I'm measuring in metric.
That's so funny. Well, guys, appreciate you tuning in. 3BeerPod, episode number 10. We do have episode number 11. I don't want to say 100% confirmed, Tim, but I am looking forward to next week's conversation if it all comes together here over the next 5 days or so.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah, so we won't say much. Keep an eye on our socials. We'll release who that's going to be, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. Don't forget to, what do we have to say? Don't forget to download, like, rate, subscribe, all that other jazz. You have to do.
And coming soon, new merch.
Yeah, Timber, we got to talk about that.
3 Beer Podcast merch. I got an email actually during the podcast about the merch. That's exciting stuff. We got some stuff coming, so check out the Facebook page because you're dying for it. That's for sure.
You need a shirt. We'll get you one.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks to our sponsors, the team over at Sons of Kent. Good folks over there. Try their brand new bunny chow. They're going to have some cool stuff to release here over the next few days. Really looking forward to it. Keep an eye on their social media. Thanks again to Shauna and everybody over at the Health House. And if you're looking to buy or sell a house or get you into a brand new house built by Depencier Builders, we can arrange that with myself. There's my number. Give me a call at some point. Timmer, anything else, buddy?
No, that's good. I'm on that cola beer, and it's refreshing.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. Just sampling. It's good stuff.
It's good.
Your mom jumped in.
My mom loves the show.
That's amazing. My mom had just texted me and said she loved the show.
Old 8-finger Wilma. She typed that. Good for her. She comes from a long line of construction people. Timber, we'll see you next week, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Cloudy. See you, buddy.
Have a good one. That's the 3 Beer Pod, episode number 10. Make sure you download and watch online.